I signed the divorce papers with a fountain pen that cost more than our first dinner date. The irony wasn't lost on me as the ink flowed across the line. Where my marriage officially ended outside rain tapped against the law office windows in a rhythm that seemed to mock the tears I refused to shed. Are we done here? Sean's voice cut through the silence, impatient as always when emotions were involved. He'd already mentally checked out. Years ago, his body just finally caught up almost. The lawyer gathered the documents with practiced efficiency. Just need Mr. Reed's signatures on pages 4 and 7, I studied. Shaw's profile as he scribbled his name, the same face I'd woken up to for 3 years, his cologne the one I'd gifted him last. Christmas filled the small space between us with memories. I needed to forget the gold band had already disappeared from his finger, probably nestled in the pocket of his mistress by now, Luna. I hope you understand this is better for both of us. He offered, not meeting my eyes. Better for him and his 26-year-old secretary, maybe better for me. The jury was still deliberating. The sharp click of the lawyer's briefcase closing punctuated our failed marriage like a period at the end of a disappointing sentence. I rose from the leather chair, my legs surprisingly steady beneath me. Your copy of the house key? I extended my palm, trying to ignore how my fingertips trembled. Sean reached into his pocket and dropped the key into my hand. Our fingers brushed, and I felt nothing. The shock of that nothingness almost knocked me off my feet outside. The rain had intensified. I stood under the building's awning, watching Sean climb into his BMW without a backward glance. 3 years of marriage dissolved in 48 minutes of paperwork. My apartment felt cavernous when I returned. The movers had come yesterday, taking Sean's carefully curated collection of modern furniture and leaving behind odd voids across the hardwood floors. The indentations where his bookshelves once stood, the lighter patches of paint where his pretentious art had hung. I kicked off my heels and poured myself a glass of wine, the expensive bottle Sean had been saving for a special occasion. Divorce seemed special enough. The emptiness echoed around me. I wandered from room to room, trailing my fingers along walls that now belonged solely to me. The master bedroom still smelled faintly of Sean's aftershave, a ghost I need to exercise with. New sheets and open windows. My phone buzzed. Jasmine, my colleague from the Dream Analysis Center. It's done, she asked without preamble. Signed, sealed, delivered. I took another sip of wine, feeling it warm my throat. I'm officially no longer MR's red. Good now, comes the rebuild. Her voice was brisk, practical, and no before. You say anything, you're not allowed to become a hermit. In fact, I've already signed you up for something, Jasmine. It's a citywide treasure hunt this weekend, teams of 2 solving riddles across Moreno Valley. You need it. I need a therapist. You are a therapist. What you need is to remember who Luna Bryant was before she became Luna Reed. I gazed at my reflection in the window, backlit by the empty apartment. The truth was, I barely remembered that woman. She'd been buried under compromises and disappointments, under the weight of trying to be someone's perfect wife. Fine. I sighed, but if my partner is some overeager college kid or a middle-aged man going through a crisis, I'm bailing deal. Jasmine's smile was audible. Who knows, maybe you'll find something more valuable than whatever prize they're offering. I finished my wine, watching raindrops race down the window pane. What I didn't tell Jasmine was the small box I'd found while Sean was packing, hidden beneath his socks containing hotel receipts dating back to our first anniversary, and a woman's earring I'd never seen before. Some treasures once found only leave you with more questions. Saturday morning arrived with annoying sunshine that contradicted my mood. I stood in the community college parking lot, clutching a registration form, already regretting my promise to Jasmine. Around me, excited participants chatted in established teams, couples with matching t-shirts, friends with elaborate team names, families with coordinated baseball caps. Meanwhile, I wore jeans and a plain blue sweater, like I was running errands rather than participating in a fun community event. First time a voice behind me asked. I turned to find an older man with a clipboard, his name tag read event coordinator. That obvious I forced a smile. Solo participants have a certain deer in headlights look. He chuckled, checking his list. Luna Bryant. I nodded. Perfect. We pair. Solo entrance together. Head over to table 3. Great Jasmine hadn't mentioned this part. I reluctantly made my way to the designated table, where several other stragglers waited, most avoided. Eye contact equally thrilled about forced socialization. All right, treasure hunters. The coordinator's voice boomed through a megaphone. Solo participants, listen for your team assignments. He rattled off names in pairs. I half listened until Luna Bryant and Bailey Torres' team. 17, I raised my hand, hesitantly scanning the crowd. A woman across the table did the same. Our eyes met, and my stomach did an unexpected flip. Bailey Torres looked like she belonged on a magazine cover rather than a community treasure hunt. Blonde hair swept up in a casual ponytail, striking green. Eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners when she smiled, and she was smiling directly at me. Looks like we're partners. She extended her hand. Her grip was firm. Confident Bailey. Luna. My own voice sounded strange to my ears. First time, she asked. Echoing the coordinator. Is it that obvious to everyone, only to those of us who notice details? She held up her registration. You're folding. And unfolding the corner of your form. Classic nervous, till I immediately stopped fidgeting with the paper. And you're a professional treasure hunter, neurologist, actually, but I do love puzzles. She leaned closer, her voice dropping conspiratorially. And I'm very competitive, the coordinator distributed. Sealed envelopes containing our first clues. Bailey took ours fingers, brushing mine in the exchange. No opening until the starting signal. He warned. Bailey examined the envelope. What made you sign up for this? My friend thought it would be good therapy after my divorce, damn it. Why had I offered that? Information to a stranger recent? She asked without a hint of awkwardness. Thursday? Then we absolutely need to win. She smiled. Nothing heals like victory. The starting horn blared. Bailey tore open our envelope with surgical precision, unfolding the riddle within. I stand where knowledge flows, but no words are spoken. Find me where the oldest stories sleep beneath dust and memory. She read the historical library. I said immediately downtown on Cypress Street. Bailey's eyebrows rose. Impressive. I spent a lot of time there during grad school. The main reading room has that quote carved above the fireplace. Then let's go. She grabbed my wrist, her touch sending an unexpected jolt up my arm. My car is closer. Bailey drove a clean, sensible Subaru. The interior smelled faintly of vanilla and coffee as we navigated toward downtown. She fired questions at me, what I did, how long I'd lived in Marino Valley, my favorite coffee shop at the library. We raced inside, ignoring curious stares from the elderly patrons. Bailey followed my lead to the reading room, where sure enough our next clue was taped beneath the table closest to the fireplace. You're good at this, she said, leaning close as we huddled over the new riddle, her shoulder pressed against mine, and I caught the scent of her perfume, something subtle and expensive. For the next 3 hours, we crisscrossed the city, following increasingly difficult clues. Bailey drove while I navigated our initial awkwardness, dissolving with each success. She was smart, focusing on wordplay while I recognized landmarks. We made a surprisingly effective team at the Botanical Gardens, deciphering a clue about nature's cathedral. Bailey hovered behind me as I examined a map of the grounds. I became acutely aware of her breath on my neck, her hand occasionally touching my shoulder to point out possible locations. Why dream analysis? She asked as we hurried down. At Garden Path, dreams fascinate me. How the mind processes fears and desires when consciousness isn't guarding the gates, the unfiltered truth. She nodded. That's why. I went into neurology, the brain's mysteries. She stopped, suddenly grabbing my arm. Wait, the clue mentioned where stone meets sky, but water rules look. She pointed to a rock formation with a waterfall. Our next clue gleamed in a waterproof container. As she reached for it, her face lit with triumph. I felt something stir inside me. Something I hadn't felt in years. Maybe Jasmine was right, perhaps. I would find something valuable today. After all, This has to be the final clue, Bailey, said her voice breathless as we jogged along the lakeside path where the eagle's shadow meets. The diamond at sunset treasure awaits those who persevere. Afternoon sun glinted off the lake, turning the water into a mirror of amber light. We'd been at this for nearly 6 hours, our competitive spirits pushing us through exhaustion. My shoes pinched. My throat was parched, but the thought of giving up never crossed. My mind, Eagle's shadow, I murmured, scanning the shore. There's Eagle Point on the west side of the lake, and the diamond. Bailey interrupted, grabbing my arm. The baseball diamond in the park adjacent to the lake, if we stand where the shadow of Eagle Point falls across it at sunset. I checked my watch, which is in 20 minutes. We raced to Bailey's car, adrenaline masking fatigue as she drove. I couldn't help studying her profile, the determined set of her jaw, the slight furrow between her brows when she concentrated for someone I'd met just hours ago. She felt strangely familiar. The baseball diamond was deserted. When we arrived, Bailey pulled out the map of previous locations, overlaying it with a park schematic from our last clue. If we're right, the treasure should be. She traced her finger along the ground, then pointed to home plate there. We approached, cautiously scanning for other teams. The park was eerily quiet. I think we're the first ones here, I whispered. Bailey grinned. I told you we make a good team. We reached home plate just as the sun dipped low enough for Eagle Point's shadow to stretch across the field. Bailey knelt, running her hands around the base until her fingers caught on something. There's a compartment. She worked her fingers into a nearly invisible seam and pulled a small metal box emerge from beneath the plate. We did it, I exclaimed as she stood holding our prize. Without thinking, I threw my arms around her in celebration. She stiffened momentarily, then relaxed, hugging me back. Her body was warm against mine, her hair brushing my cheek. We stayed that way for a heartbeat too long before I pulled away, suddenly self-conscious. Sorry, I mumbled, got carried away. Don't apologize. Her eyes held mine, something unreadable flickering in their green depths. Victory hugs are mandatory. She handed me the box. You should do the honors. Inside was a certificate for the grand prize, a weekend at a luxury resort, and 2 smaller envelopes containing gift cards to local restaurants, dinners on the treasure hunt committee. Bailey said, holding up one envelope, we should celebrate. An hour later, we sat at a corner table in Riviera, an upscale Italian restaurant I'd never been to. I'd splashed water on my face and reapplied lipstick in the restroom, suddenly conscious of my appearance in a way I hadn't been all day. Too successful. Treasure hunting. Bailey raised her wine glass. I clinketed mine against it. And unexpected partnerships as we ate. Conversation flowed easily. Bailey told me about her work at Moreno Valley Medical Center, researching sleep disorders and their neurological components. Wait, I set down my fork. You study sleep patterns and brain activity during dreams. She nodded, twirling pasta around her fork. Fascinating field. The brain during REM sleep shows activity patterns similar to wakefulness, but with the body effectively paralyzed. That's essentially what I analyzed the psychological implications of those brain patterns. I leaned forward. I work with patients who experience recurring dreams, helping them decode the symbolic language their subconscious is using. Bay's eyes lit up. We're approaching the same phenomenon from different angles. My psychological analysis, your neurological expertise. I trailed off, suddenly aware of the energy between us, a spark of intellectual connection that felt as powerful as any physical attraction. We should compare notes sometime, she suggested, her tone casual, but her eyes intent on mine. Later, when she dropped me at my apartment, an awkward moment stretched between us. The evening had shifted. Something transformed us from random partners into what exactly this was. I searched for the right word. Unexpected. Bailey offered her smile, gentle in the dim car light. In the best possible way, she reached across the console, her fingers lightly touching mine. I'd like to see you again. Luna, the directness of her statement caught me off guard. Not we should get coffee sometime, or let's keep in touch. A clear intention. My heart pounded strangely as I met her gaze I'd like. That too, walking to my door keys, jingling in my trembling hand, I realized what had happened for the first time since signing those divorce papers. I wasn't thinking about Sean or what I'd lost or who I was supposed to be now. I was simply looking forward to tomorrow. Monday morning arrived with its usual barrage of appointments. I settled into my office, chair reviewing patient files while sipping coffee from my favorite mug, the one with dream. Big printed in faded letters, 3 days had passed since the treasure hunt, and Bailey's business card sat on my desk, the edges already worn from my fingertips. Repeatedly tracing the embossed lettering, I'd almost called her Sunday twice, but something held me back, not reluctance, exactly. More like vertigo at the edge of something unfamiliar. Luna, Jasmine's voice, proceeded. Her knock, she entered wearing a knowing smile. So how was the treasure hunt? We won, actually. I tried for nonchalance, gathering papers that didn't need gathering. She perched on the edge of my desk. Tell me about your partner, Bailey Torres. She's a neurologist at Moreno Valley. Medical. Jasmine's eyebrows rose. Dr. Torres. I've heard of her, published some groundbreaking research on sleep disorders last year. She studied my face and what and how was working with her. I busied myself with my calendar. Fine, good. She's brilliant, actually. We had dinner afterward. Jasmine's smile widened. Interesting. As colleagues, I clarified quickly. We discovered our research overlaps. She didn't sound convinced. Well, speaking of colleagues, there's someone. I want you to meet new consulting neurologist for our dream study program. My stomach dropped. Consulting Dr. Bryant. A familiar voice came from the doorway. Bailey stood there, elegant in a charcoal pants suit, her blonde hair swept into a professional updo. She smiled, and I felt that same flip in my stomach from Saturday. Dr. Torres. I managed, standing awkwardly. What a surprise, you two know each other. Jasmine looked between us. Treasure hunt partners. Bailey explained, her eyes never leaving mine. Luna didn't mention she worked here. And you didn't mention you were consulting for us? I countered. Jasmine's gaze bounced between us like a spectator at a tennis match. Well, this is convenient. Dr. Torres will be working with us on the trauma patient dream pattern study. She checked her watch. Staff meeting in 10 minutes. I'll leave you two to catch up. The door clicked shut behind her. Silence stretched between us. Quite a coincidence. I finally said. Bailey's smile turned slightly mischievous. Is it you knew I worked here? Heat rose to my cheeks. I may have seen your name on the clinic's website after you mentioned dream analysis. She stepped further into my office, examining the framed diplomas on the wall. I was already in talks with Dr. Reed about the consulting position. Jasmine. Reed is my friend, not just my colleague. I gathered that from how she was watching us. Bailey turned back to me. Are you uncomfortable with this arrangement? The directness of the question caught me off guard. No, I'm just surprised. Good surprised or bad surprised? I met her gaze. I'm still deciding. She nodded. Accepting this, I have a proposal. For you, actually, a research collaboration. Oh, I've been developing a study on neurological patterns in recurring dreams, particularly in trauma patients. Your psychological analysis would provide the missing component. She placed a folder on my desk, her fingertips brushing mine as she handed it over. That same jolt of awareness traveled up my arm. Review it when you have time, she said softly. We could do important work together. Luna, the way she said my name like she was tasting it, made me acutely conscious of the small space between us, of her perfume mingling with the scent of coffee in my office. The meeting reminder chimed on my computer, breaking the moment. We should go, I said, gathering my notepad as we walked to the conference room. Bailey kept a professional distance, but I felt her presence like a magnetic field pulling at something inside me during the meeting. I caught Jasmine watching me while Bailey presented her research methodology. When our eyes met, she raised an eyebrow in silent question. I looked away quickly, focusing on my notes. Later, alone in my office, I opened Bailey's research proposal. It was brilliant, innovative methodology, clear objectives, potential for groundbreaking results. Working with her would advance my career significantly. So why did the prospect of spending hours together and close Collaboration make my hands trembling, my phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine, you light up. When she talks, never saw that was Sean, just saying I set the phone down, staring at Bailey's signature on the proposal. Professional boundaries had always been clear to me, but suddenly everything felt blurred at the edges like the moment between wakefulness and dreaming. 3 weeks into our research collaboration, and Bailey had become a fixture in my professional life. We'd established a routine morning meetings in my office, afternoon work with patients, and data analysis that frequently stretched into evening. The boundaries between colleagues and friends had blurred comfortably, but I kept a careful distance whenever our conversations veered toward the personal. This Thursday, we were reviewing patient responses when Jasmine burst into my office without knocking, her face ash an emergency staff meeting. She said no. The conference room was packed, tension thick enough to touch. Our director, Dr. Hansen, stood at the front, his typically cheerful face grim. I'll cut to the chase. He began. Moreno Valley Medical Center has been acquired by Health Prime Corporation. They're implementing immediate restructuring across all departments. My stomach dropped. Corporate acquisitions meant one thing. Layoffs. Our dream research division has been deemed. He paused. Non-essential. The room erupted in voices. I sat frozen, feeling Bailey's presence beside me like a radiator. What does that mean exactly? Someone asked. It means our department will be dissolved in 30 days. Some staff will be reassigned to general psychology, others. He didn't finish. This is Jasmine whispered beside me. Our trauma work is groundbreaking. Dr. Hansen continued, reviewing the grim details. I barely heard him, my thoughts racing to mortgage payments, health insurance, my dwindling savings after the divorce. After the meeting, Bailey followed me back to my office. I dropped into my chair, stunned. Luna. Her voice was gentle. 7 years. I said, I've built this program for 7 years. She sat across from me, her face uncharacteristically vulnerable. I just heard from my department. Had the neurology department is facing similar cuts. You two? I looked up. She nodded. Apparently my research is too specialized for Health Prime's streamlined approach to healthcare. We sat in silence, the weight of uncertainty pressing down between us. This research matters, she finally said, her voice hardening. What we're learning about trauma processing during dream states could help thousands of patients. Try explaining that to corporate accountants. Bailey leaned forward, suddenly, eyes intense. Luna, there's something I need to tell you. Her serious tone made my heart stutter. What is it these past weeks working with you? She paused, seeming to gather courage. I didn't request this collaboration just for the research. I don't understand. I requested you specifically after the treasure hunt. I couldn't stop thinking about you, your insights, your approach to dream analysis. She took a breath. And just you. My lungs seemed to forget how to function. Bailey, I'm attracted to you, Luna, not just intellectually. The words hung in the air between us, irritable. I know this is unprofessional and your situation is complicated. You're recently divorced, probably not even considering. I've been thinking about you too. I interrupted, the admission surprising. Even me, in ways that go beyond our work. But I haven't been with a woman before. She finished softly. I nodded, heart hammering. This is all new territory for me. Bailey reached across the desk, her fingers stopping just short of mine. New territory can be frightening, but also exciting. Our eyes locked, and the office seemed to shrink around us, the world narrowing to just this moment. This confession suspended between two people who had nothing left to lose. I don't know what to do with these feelings. I admitted. You don't have to do anything. She smiled gently. Just acknowledge them. A knock at my door broke. The moment Jasmine entered, her eyes red, rimmed but fierce. I'm organizing resistance, she announced. We can fight this decision. It won't work, Bailey said, her professional demeanor snapping back into place. Corporate acquisitions like this are legal bulldozers. Jasmine collapsed into a chair. So what, we just give up, watch our careers implode? Bailey straightened something, shifting in her expression, or we create something new. What do you mean? I asked. What if? She began slowly. What if we took our research private? Opened our own clinic, that's insane, Jasmine said. But she was listening. Is it between Luna's dream analysis? Expertise and my neurological background, we could offer specialized treatment unavailable. Anywhere else in the region, you're seriously suggesting we start a business now? I ask sometimes. Crisis creates opportunity, Bailey turned to me, her eyes bright with possibility. We've been lamenting the institutional constraints on our research for weeks. What if this is our chance for real autonomy? The idea was simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. Like Bailey herself, a dream clinic, I murmured. The concept taking shape in my mind, I'm in Jasmine declared suddenly, but I'm not third-wheeling whatever's happening between you two. She gestured between us with a knowing look. Bailey's gaze found mine, a question in her eyes that had nothing to do with business plans or research protocols, too clinical. Bailey declared, her voice echoing in the empty commercial space. Patients need to feel comfortable enough to discuss their most intimate dreams. We'd spent 2 weeks viewing potential locations for our clinic. This was the 7th property, a former art gallery with high ceilings and natural light. I watched Bailey pace the space, envisioning equipment placement and patient flow with the same intense focus. She brought to everything. I liked the separate entrances. I offered private access. For patients with anxiety issues, Bailey nodded, running her hand along a wall. We could create individual therapy rooms. Here, communal spaces there, and the sleep lab in the back section. Her enthusiasm was contagious since our mutual confession 3 weeks ago. We channeled our energy into this venture, working every evening on business plans and equipment lists. The professional framework gave us safe boundaries while we navigated the personal undercurrents between us. What do you think? I asked Jasmine, who was examining the electrical outlets. It's double our initial budget. She warned, but perfect for our needs. Bailey countered, location layout, parking it. Checks every box, Jasmine sighed. You two are the bosses, I'm just the financial reality. Check. After telling the realtor we'd consider it, we headed to a nearby cafe to review our options. As Bailey ordered coffee, I caught myself studying the graceful line of her neck, the way her hair caught the afternoon light. I quickly looked away when she turned, but not before catching her small, knowing smile. Luna, Jasmine's voice brought me back earth to Luna. I asked about the loan application, right? Sorry, I shuffled through my folder. I've completed most sections, but we still need to finalize the 5-year projections. Bailey returned with our drinks, her fingers brushing mine as she handed over my latte. These small touches had become more frequent, each one sending a current of awareness through me. I've been thinking about equipment costs, she said, sliding into the seat beside me rather than across the table. If we lease rather than purchase initially, we could redirect funds to marketing. I nodded, hyper aware of her proximity. Makes sense. Jasmine looked between us, rolling her eyes slightly. While you two figure out equipment, I'll head home. Early appointment tomorrow. After she left, a comfortable silence settled between us. Bailey stirred her coffee, watching me over the rim of her cup. Your place or mine? She finally asked. My pulse quickened before she clarified. For business plan work, we still need to complete the financial section tonight. Mine is closer, I said, ignoring the flutter in my stomach. The evening stretched into night as we worked at my dining table. Spreadsheets and market research scattered between takeout containers as midnight approached. Bailey stretched her shoulder, brushing mine. We should probably call it a night, she said, though neither of us moved. Probably, I agreed, turning to face her. The air between us felt charged, heavy with unspoken intentions. I'd never been so aware of another person's breathing, of the subtle shifts in their expression. Bailey's eyes dropped to my lips, then back up. Luna, she whispered, I've been incredibly patient. I know. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. If you're not ready. I closed the distance between us, pressing my lips to hers. The contact was electric, awakening sensations I'd forgotten existed. Her hand came up to cradle my face, deepening the kiss until I felt dizzy with it. When we finally broke apart, her eyes were dark, intense. I've wanted to do that since the treasure hunt, She admitted her thumb tracing my lower lip. I struggled. To find words, I know her smile was gentle. We can take this as slow as you need. What happened next wasn't slow at all. Within moments, we were tangled together on my couch hands. Exploring breaths, mingling Bailey's touch was both tender and certain, guiding me through unfamiliar territory with exquisite care. After, as we lay wrapped in each other, the doorbell shattered our cocoon. I jerked upright. Who, expecting someone? Bailey asked, reaching for her shirt at 1 o'clock in the morning. No pulling. On my robe, I approached the door cautiously through the peephole. I saw a face I hadn't expected to see again. So soon, Sean, I opened the door a crack. What are you doing here? His eyes were slightly unfocused. He'd been drinking. We need to talk. About the cabin. He slurred. I got an offer. It's the middle of the night, Sean. He pushed against the door. It's important, we need to. His gaze focused on something behind me, Bailey, now fully dressed, standing in my living room. Who's she? His tone shifted instantly. My business partner. I said the words, feeling wholly inadequate. Sean's eyes narrowed. Business, huh? That why her lipstick smudged. Bailey stepped forward. Dr. Torres Luna and I are opening a clinic together. And apparently more his love was ugly didn't take. You long Luna, you should leave. I said, anger replacing embarrassment. Wait till the country club hears about this. Sean's voice dripped contempt. Perfect. Luna Bryant playing for the other team. Now Bailey moved to my side, her presence solid, protective. I think you've said enough. Sean looked between us, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. Then abruptly he turned and stumbled back to his car. I closed the door hands. Shaking you okay? Bailey asked softly. No. I admitted, but I will be heard about your new business venture, Luna, and your personal development. I froze, coffee cup halfway to my lips. Dr. Marshall, head of psychology at the hospital, and long time family friend of Sean's parents, smiled thinly at me across the hospital cafeteria. 2 weeks had passed since Sean's midnight visit. 2 weeks of Bailey and I splitting our time between clinic preparations and exploring our deepening relationship. 2 weeks of existing in a bubble that had just been punctured. News travels fast. I managed setting down my cup. Marino Valley is smaller than you think. He glanced around, lowering his voice. Some advice from a colleague. Professional reputations are fragile. Patients can be traditional in their expectations. He walked away before I could respond, leaving me with a knot in my stomach, returning to the temporary office space we'd rented while renovations continued on our clinic. I found Bailey reviewing fabric samples for the patient. Rooms, what's wrong? She asked, immediately reading my expression. I related the cafeteria encounter, watching her face harden. This is exactly what I was worried about. I concluded. Our clinic hasn't even opened, and already there's gossip. Does it matter? Bailey asked, setting down the fabric swatches. Our credentials speak for themselves. Of course it matters. We're investing everything in this clinic. If potential patients are uncomfortable because of our relationship, so what are you saying? Her voice cooled. That we should hide, pretend? I don't know. I sank into a chair. This is all happening so fast. The clinic, us. I haven't had time to process any of it. Bailey was silent for a long moment. I understand this is new territory for you, but I won't go back into the closet. Luna, not even for the clinic's success. The door opened before I could respond. Jasmine entered with contractor estimates, her eyes narrowing. As she sensed the tension, everything okay? She asked. Fine. Bailey said shortly. I need to check on some equipment deliveries. She left without meeting my eyes. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Trouble in paradise. The gossip mill is churning. I sighed. Bailey doesn't understand why I'm concerned, because she's been dealing with this her entire adult life, Jasmine pointed out, sitting beside me. While you're just getting your first taste of being judged for who you love, I stopped. Love, the word hadn't entered our conversations yet. Even with Jasmine. Prodded, I don't know if I can handle this scrutiny with everything else going on. Luna Bryant, world-class overthinker. Jasmine shook her head. You know what your problem is? You're so busy worrying about how everyone else sees you that you forget to trust your own vision. Her words stung with truth for the next few days. Bailey maintained a professional distance. We continued clinic preparations side by side, our personal connection. Temporarily suspended, I told myself it was for the best. Space to focus on the business, to sort through my confusion, but I missed her. Missed her laugh, her touch, the way she looked at me like I was the most fascinating puzzle she'd ever encountered. Friday afternoon, I overheard two nurses whispering. As I collected my final belongings from the hospital, "That's her, the one who left her husband for another woman. Didn't she work with Dream?" Analysis guessed. She finally woke up. Their laughter followed me down the corridor. Something snapped inside. Me, not shame, but indignation. What did they know about my life, my choices, my happiness? I drove directly to Bailey's apartment, rehearsing what I'd say, but when she opened the door, all prepared, speeches evaporated. "I've been an idiot." I blurted out, "That's a promising start." She said, her expression guarded. "Want to elaborate?" "I've spent my career analyzing other people's subconscious fears, yet I couldn't recognize my own. I was afraid of judgment, of change, of how deeply I feel for you." Her posture softened slightly, and now I realize that hiding who I am, who we are, contradicts everything our clinic stands for. We help people embrace their authentic selves. How can I do less? Bailey studied me for a long moment. "What changed?" I did. I said simply, or rather, I remembered who I am beneath all the expectations and appearances. The person who believes in facing fears, not running from them. She pulled me inside, closing the door behind us. "Luna, I don't need grand declarations. I just need to know you won't retreat every time someone gives us a sideways glance. I can't promise I'll never struggle. I admitted this is all still new, but I can promise I'm done letting other people's opinions dictate my happiness." Bailey's smile was slow, cautious, good enough for now. As she drew me closer, I realized Jasmine was right. I had been overthinking, overanalyzing, doing to my own life what I advised patients against. Sometimes the most profound truths emerge not from careful analysis, but from simply listening to your heart. The morning of our clinic's grand opening dawned clear and bright. I stood before the mirror, adjusting my outfit for the fifth time. A tailored navy suit that Bailey had helped me select. Professional, yet distinctive. The woman reflected back at me, looked different, somehow more confident, more herself. Ready, Bailey appeared behind me. Resplendent in a cream silk blouse and charcoal pencil skirt, she slipped her arms around my waist, resting her chin on my shoulder. "As I'll ever be," I replied, leaning back into her embrace. The week since our reconciliation had been a whirlwind of final preparations, equipment, installation, hiring support staff, marketing, our unique approach to dream analysis, and neurological integration. Through it all, Bailey had been my anchor, her steady confidence, balancing my occasional moments of doubt. "Today will be perfect," she murmured, kissing my neck before releasing me. Our first step toward changing how people understand dreams and trauma at the clinic. Jasmine was already directing the catering staff, clipboard in hand. The space had transformed from the empty gallery we'd first viewed into a sophisticated medical facility that somehow managed to feel welcoming rather than clinical, soft lighting, comfortable. Furniture, state-of-the-art equipment hidden behind warm wood paneling, all according to our exacting specifications. Press is already gathering, Jasmine reported, including the medical correspondent from the Tribune. My stomach tightened. Good publicity. Breathe, Bailey whispered, squeezing my hand before releasing it to greet arriving colleagues. As the reception area filled with local healthcare professionals, potential referral partners, and community leaders, I slipped into professional mode, explaining our innovative approach with practiced ease. Yet even as I engaged in conversation, I kept scanning the crowd, half expecting to see Sean's face among the guests. "Your speech is in 10 minutes. Jasmine reminded me, appearing at my elbow with a glass of water. I nodded, reviewing mental notes for the welcome address. As clinic co-directors, Bailey and I would present our vision together, my psychological framework complemented by her neurological. Expertise taking my position at the podium, I saw Bailey move to join me, then from the corner of my eye, I caught a familiar figure entering the reception area. Sean, he stood near the back, expression unreadable, watching my words. Momentarily evaporated. As our eyes met, then I felt Bailey's presence beside me, her shoulder just touching mine, a subtle reminder that I wasn't alone. Welcome to Dreamscape. Neuropsychology Center, I began my voice, finding its strength where cutting-edge neuroscience meets. The ancient wisdom of dream interpretation, the speech flowed seamlessly as Bailey and I alternated sections, our professional rapport evident in the way. We built upon each other's points throughout. I was conscious of Sean watching his presence. A reminder of the life I'd left behind. When the presentation concluded to enthusiastic applause, I allowed myself a moment of pure pride. This clinic represented everything Bailey and I believed in, both professionally and personally, as guests mingled. Afterward, Sean approached Bailey, tense beside me, but I squeezed her hand, whispering, "It's okay. Impressive presentation." He said, voice neutral, "Congratulations. Thank you for coming." I replied carefully, his eyes flicked between Bailey and me. "You seem different." "I am different," I acknowledged. Happier, something shifted in his expression, resignation, perhaps, or recognition. "Well, good luck with the clinic." "It's an interesting concept." After he left, Bailey looked at me quizzically. "What was that?" "About closure, I think, for both of us." The reception continued into early evening as the last guest departed. Jasmine, Bailey, and I stood in the empty reception area, champagne flutes in hand, to Dreamscape. Jasmine toasted, and to new beginnings later. That night, in the quiet of Bailey's apartment, I lay beside her, contemplating the day's success. "What are you thinking?" she asked, tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. "About dreams." I said, "Not the kind we study, but the ones we create for ourselves." She propped herself up on one elbow. "And what's your dream now, Dr. Bryant?" I turned to face her, taking in the features that had become so beloved to me in such a short time. "This," I said simply, "building something meaningful with someone who sees me, truly sees me." Bailey smiled, leaning down to kiss me softly. "Then we're living the dream already in that moment." I knew with absolute certainty that sometimes the most profound awakenings happen not during sleep, but when we're fully gloriously conscious and brave enough to follow our hearts.